One. Okay, yay, I think we're on. So welcome, Wendie Webber.
So glad to be here.
I'm going to wait a few minutes before we really get into introductions and before we get into any nitty-gritty stuff, because it takes a few minutes before people join live. So right now it's just kind of, chit chat. And by the way, this whole show, I used to call this a chatter view because it's not like an interview. It's not a formal interview. It's just two buddies hanging out, talking shop. I don't even have a list of questions prepared because I just want it to be a free-flowing conversation, just a natural conversation. And then whoever joins us can ask us questions and can comment on whatever we're talking about. So the program, I don't want to put any bad juju into the universe, because we're past all of the glitches now. Everything is going to work smoothly with our technology. We're going to have a wonderful conversation.
We are
in complete alignment. And now I'm not able to see who comments because of the GDP, the new GDP or whatever it's called, rules right now, but the Be Live is working on that. And I don't know what, like, Selena Valentine can see people and see their comments when she does it, but I can't do it when on mine. So I don't know why that is, but they said that I had contacted customer service and they said that they were working on that. So, and then once they get that fixed, then I'll go to their premium package or whatever. But so right now it's like, let's work out these glitches. But that means that whoever shows up and is commenting, I can't see who you guys are. So you'll need to put your name in the comments, and then if you want to be known, if you want us to acknowledge who you are, just put your name in the comments while you do that. That would be very helpful to us. And so I have expert regressionist Wendie Webber with me today. And in a minute, Wendie, I'm going to ask for you to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. But first, before you do that, I want to tell everybody how you and I met. So we met the very first year of HTL, of HypnoThoughts Live. And we were both speakers, presenters, but this was the first year. So Stephanie and Richard and Scott, they really didn't have everything as down pat as they do now. And we weren't sure what to expect. And we didn't even know if we were going to, if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, we didn't even know if there would be screens for us. We didn't know what kind of equipment we needed to bring. We had to bring all of our cables, our computers, our projectors, screens. And Wendie didn't have a screen, and
you didn't have
and I didn't have a projector. That's right. Now, I don't believe in coincidences. So I think the universe definitely brought us together in this way. And so I ended up bringing a screen, and she brought her projector. And I couldn't find your class like when you were starting, so I didn't actually make it on time with my screen, so I felt really bad, but you figured out how to project it on the wall. People could see it just fine off the wall. And you were gracious enough to let me use your projector, which was really nice. So, but that's when we first connected, and then we hung out with each other that whole weekend. And there was a little, at the time they had a little, what was that, Mexican restaurant at the Orleans?
Oh, wasn't that from Wings?
It was awesome. I'm having a little bit trouble with your audio. You're breaking up a little bit. But I don't know if there's something, well, when you start talking, I'll know more. But yeah, that was the best little place. I don't think it's there anymore.
No.
But it was really cool, and they had the best food and drinks, and it was just a really nice place where we could just sit down and chill and really talk shop. And then during one of our dinners, Wendie actually did a regression on me. She really helped me out, and just taught me a lot of stuff that was mind blowing. So I had been doing some age regression, but she could really explain it to me in a way that I never fully understood before. And you're also the first person to teach me EFT tapping, which I just kind of thought, I wasn't. You totally opened me to EFT, because before that I was kind of like, this is baloney. And so I didn't really get into it. And then you used it on me, and then that's what convinced me that this like really works, and I need to study this more and use it on my own clients. And you're just one of the most fascinating, brilliant minds. You're so intelligent. Any questions I have, you just always are there with the answer, and it makes complete sense. So I guess tell everybody a little bit about yourself now, your background and what you do, and whatever else you want to say.
Well, now I'm hearing feedback on your end. So.
Oh, okay. I'm going to plug in my earphones or my earbuds if you're hearing.
That's it.
Okay. And that'll give us another minute for people to join. Looks like we're up to 9 or 10 viewers now.
Okay.
And I know a lot of people said that they were going to watch this on the replay who had to work during this time. Yes. So you're really popular already. Okay.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah, that's better.
Okay, I got no feedback now. So, all right. Okay. So a little about myself. Well, I have been a hypnosis practitioner since 2000, and I've been specializing in regression hypnosis since 2001. Basically, my first certification was poor, let's put it that way. But I had the good fortune of seeing one of Jerry Kine's videos after I had graduated. And the moment I saw him doing this demonstration, I said, that's what I want to do. And so that was it. So began this long sort of journey. And over the next, I guess probably about 10 years anyway, I was like a full-time student and a part-time therapist. And so I would just, learn what I was learning, and then I would apply it to my clients. And then I'd go and get the next level of learning. And over time, I sort of, integrated different tools and techniques. As you mentioned, tapping is so powerful with regression.
Who knew?
Well, it's a very useful tool on so many levels, because you can use it as a preliminary technique to kind of bring down the client's anxiety about, facing their, their issues. You can use it in session. You can just use it as a standalone protocol. You can use it during a regression. So you take some, which is what I did with you. You went back. Can I share this?
Absolutely. I'm an open book.
As I recall, now this is a few years ago, but as I recall, you had gone back to the womb. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and so there was some distress going on there
right.
in the situation. And the distress, like a distress happens at an emotional level, but it has to do with how you're perceiving the situation that you're in. And so all we needed to do was release the emotional charge around that event, around the, what was happening. And so we just used tapping. And the cool thing about working in an early childhood event, which is always where I want to get to, is right. that it's really quickly resolved, because children don't hold on to a whole bunch of stuff. It's that it gets stuck there and it builds up over time. And so by the time you get to like midlife, all of a sudden it's popping out of your pores, and you got, big anxiety issues or big depression right. issues or big somatic issues. Right. But it doesn't start out that way. The seed doesn't become an oak tree overnight.
Exactly. And actually now I remember, I think we went to the womb first, but then we went to where the first week that I was born, I was left in the hospital because I had jaundice. And I was scared because my right. parents weren't there. And so I had this abandonment issues. at that age, which was really weird. It was kind of weird because I really felt like I was in this incubator. I remember having an ab reaction right there at the table in front of everybody. I didn't even care because you made me feel really safe. You were tapping on me. You were just kind of like holding my hand to reassure me that I was safe. And I just let everything out. And it was such a huge release for me. So.
You know, I just want to say this. I did not initiate this in the restaurant. It was another student who asked if he could show you something.
Oh, that's right.
And then he got stuck.
And you took over for him.
What's going on here? He couldn't figure out where you were at. And I said, I think I know. Can I step in? And he said, please, you know, and so I said,
that's right.
All right, if I help you with this. And you said, please. And so that's how I ended up doing regression in a restaurant. This is not something I would do normally.
Right. I didn't remember until just now how that even started. But you know how you get a group of friends and you're just talking shop and then someone says, oh, can I try something on you? I guess he didn't know that I was going to go so deep.
Well, we were at a conference, so you were amongst friends, and you know, I mean, it wasn't a big deal. I just want to make it clear that that's not a good idea. because when you get somebody into somnambulism and then you start guiding them back into past experiences, you know, ab reactions are a good possibility, and they're a good thing. They're like, very
I agree.
You were an excellent subject. You know, let that feeling come up to the surface. It's like, this is when, you know, if you're a regression hypnotherapist, you rub your hands together with glee because you know you're going to make a difference in this person's life. They're wide open to allowing change.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, don't be afraid of ab reactions. They're a powerful tool. Use them, you know, go with the ab reactions. If you don't know how to do that, then Wendie is a good person to learn from.
Well, you know, so many therapists are afraid of ab reactions. They think, oh, you know, it's uncomfortable for the client. But what they're failing to understand is that an ab reaction is nothing more than an emotion. Emotions are natural. They're a part of the human condition. And an ab reaction is when you're bumping into a feeling that's been stuck and it just needs to find a way out. And so that's what learning how to facilitate regression work is primarily about. It's not about going on an expedition to, you know, to uncover past events so much as it is to find out how that feeling, that emotion got trapped inside and how it's generating the symptoms that the client has come to see you for. Because, you know, that's why the client is seeing you. They've got this problem. And the problem is expressing symptoms. And what we want to find out is, okay, so where did it get started? How did, you know, I mean, you didn't just wake up one day with that problem. Right?
Exactly.
So we want to find out what that is. So ab reactions are really not a big deal, but, you know, people who have panic attacks, that's an ab reaction. They develop they start to panic over maybe having a panic attack. So they have the fear of the fear, and that's
the meta fear,
right? So what they're doing is now they've got resistance to the fear of actually feeling the feeling, and that's what makes it worse.
Right, exactly.
Back to tapping. Tapping's a great place to start. You can bring down the fear of facing the feeling. It's very empowering for a client. And it takes a lot of the anxiety off of the therapist as well, because you don't need to be dealing with this big volcano that's sitting in your chair. You can bring it down, you know, bring the volume down, make it more accessible for the client. It's all about making the process safe. Safety is the subconscious mind's prime directive. So that's what we want to be focused on all the time. The therapist's job is the subconscious mind's prime directive. Make it safe for the client to go where you need him to go and do what you need him to do so that they can get the healing.
Yeah, agreed. And I love that safety is I like how you said it, is the prime directive of the
Yeah.
subconscious. So if the subconscious feels safe, then, it's happy to work with you, right? But
It's like
if
a family dog, it'll let you in and show you where the silver is.
I love that. What a perfect metaphor. Yes. Yeah. So you just have to like throw that dog like a piece of meat, make it your best friend. There you go.
That's right, because you are the bandit. Yeah.
Right.
So over time, that's kind of how my approach to doing regression work developed over the years. And what I found was that it was a lot easier on me and the client if I just spent more energy on preparing them to go where we needed them to go. So I found that it's all about setup. Jerry
Absolutely.
Kind used to say, it's all about pre-talk, pre-talk, pre-talk. So he was really big about educating the client. And that certainly is one very large piece of the puzzle. You need to prepare the client by telling them what's going to happen, telling them what you're going to be asking them to do, telling them where you're going to be taking them. Because I don't believe in this cloak and dagger stuff. Just shut up, close your eyes, and then you dump them into a bunch of stuff. That's not very nice. So pre-talk is a big piece of the puzzle. But also just even during the process, when you bump into a block, when you bump into resistance, that's either the conscious mind or the subconscious mind saying very clearly, nah, don't want to go there. Mm-hmm. So what do? Well, the old school authoritarian method is, well, you make them go there. You push them through, it's do as I'm told, young lady. Well, I don't like that authoritarian approach. I'm a bit of a rebel. And so I don't impose that on clients. And for that reason, I learned something really cool. I learned that if you bump into resistance, respect it. Just and find out, well, okay, so why is that block there? Why are they not willing to follow your instructions? And if you find out what that is, you can resolve that. And then the door opens. So it's going through a door, you run into another door, you find out, where the handle is.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I thought that hypnosis didn't work on me, for the longest time. And it's not that the hypnosis didn't work on me. I wasn't responding to authoritarian language. But once you regressed me, it just felt very natural, very easy. I was happy to go where you were sort of leading me, and you're doing that really good pacing and leading, and without putting words in my mouth. And I loved that because I felt safe, I felt comfortable, I felt like I had the control, and you sort of guided me to where I needed to go. And then I kind of realized, like, oh yeah, so hypnosis actually does work on me. I just can't be, I also have this sort of that rebel part of me too. Like, no, I want you to be firm with me. I want to feel like you have control of this, of what you're doing, not so much control of me, but control. Like, I want to know that you know what you're doing and that you're confident, right? And that you can take me where I need to go. But at the same time, don't just start telling me all of this stuff, even just giving me a whole bunch of metaphors, right? It needs to sort of make sense to me. I have a very logical, rational mind and a creative mind. So I have both of them. And so I need to be spoken to on both sides of the brain. So not just one or the other.
Well, you see, and what you're speaking to right there is that primary need for safety and security. And so as a facilitator of the healing process, that's the prime directive. That's always where we want to be. So it's about making it safe for you to go where we need you to go to get, to get the healing. That's the ultimate goal. And you're not going to be very successful if you try to bulldoze somebody there. Right. And you were talking about feeling very safe and secure because I was confident in guiding the process.
Yes.
And confidence is your most valuable resource.
Yes, I agree.
In a session, if you as a therapist don't feel confident guiding the process, when you get a person into hypnosis, they are hyper suggestive,
Yes.
hyper aware, and they're going to pick up on that lack of confidence in you. They're going to sense that there's something off. They're going to feel that little bit of nervousness, that little bit of anxiety that you have, and that's going to generate nervousness and anxiety in them.
Yeah, that's going to translate. Even during our session in the restaurant, it was like, you know, and I love the guy who was working on me. He's great. But he did kind of run into a snag, like, you know, what do we do? And I was picking up on that, and it was kind of making me nervous. But then when you offered to step in, I just felt safe again. I just could relax. Like, okay, good. I'm in good hands. I'm in good hands.
Well, you know, the thing is that he's an excellent hypnotherapist.
Yeah.
And but what he was bumping into, he was doing the uncovering. He was trying to figure out, where is she? And he didn't know. And I have actually worked with clients who were in incubators. And so what you were describing to me,
Okay.
I think she's in an incubator. But you see, you don't want to ask that. That would be leading. So
Right.
You know, I just went in and I just asked a few questions, and it became very clear that that's what was going on. And because this was just in my repertoire of experiences, I knew how to process it.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, you're not always going to know what to do in a session, but, you know, experience will teach you. And what happens is that when you start to get sort of this, you get this little mental Rolodex, right? Oh, that kind of sounds like, you know, and then so you can check that out. And what that does is it cuts down on the amount of time that it takes to do the session. So experience will make your session shorter.
Yep.
Right? Or you can get done in a session because you recognize what you're working with.
Yeah, and one of the things that I learned from you was, just through my own experience, was I said, when you were first asking me, somebody asked me where I was, and I said, I'm confused. And you were like, bingo. Okay, like we've hit on something. And that you could use that confusion to, okay, confusion it usually indicates the ISE, doesn't it? The very first time something happens that you've never experienced, you're confused about it because you've never had that happen to you before. You don't have anything to reference it to. Okay,
if you're in infancy, I mean, if you've got somebody in their teens or whatever, and they're feeling confused, then that's just mental yammer going on.
Okay.
But you've got an infant, which is what was going on with you. You were just like days old.
Right.
Infancy, the first response to something new in an infant is confusion because they don't have anything to compare it to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if you bump into that, now you know, oh, I probably have the ISE. And then what will happen next is there's the confusion, and then comes the fear.
Okay, right.
You can't make sense of your environment. If you're confused by what's going on, that's a biological threat to survival.
Mm.
So that's a little Snoopy Dog dance, because you know you've got an ISE here. And it's so easy to clear something with an infant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really cool. So we're getting some comments from our guest, and I'm just going to, I don't know if they're popping up on your screen or not.
No, I don't. I got nothing.
All right, let's see. Here's a comment from somebody, and see how I can't see their name or their picture. That I used to be able to see their name and their picture until this new GDPR rules came about. But anyways, somebody, and thank you for commenting, whoever you are, says, Stephanie, you mentioned that Wendie was tapping on you. Wendie, is it you that did the tapping?
That's a great question. Sometimes I will tap on the client. I don't really remember. I think I probably was doing the tapping. I'll tell you how I decide. If the client is able to tap, then I will ask them to tap.
Oh, I had no idea how to do tapping at that time, so it was
Yeah.
you.
Right. If I've taught them how to tap, they know how to do it, and they're able to tap, then I will guide them through the tapping, and I'll just say, okay, just do this now, Stephanie. I'll tell you. Okay, so inside of the eye, just tapping inside of the eye. There you go. Here I am.
Here I am.
Right side of the eye, and I feel.
Gotta take off my glasses for this. And I feel.
Put an ending on it.
Oh, I feel relaxed.
Wonderful. Under the eye. I'm allowed to feel relaxed.
I'm allowed to feel relaxed. Or do you want me to just say nervous for
So that's essentially how I would do it. I would guide the client in that way.
Yeah, like if somebody says nervous or sad or scared.
The feedback that they're giving me, like if they're saying, well, you know, I feel confused. Great. Even though I feel confused.
Even though I feel confused.
I'm allowed to feel confused.
I'm allowed to feel confused.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, what's going on? Yeah.
I mean, so that's how I would open it up.
Right.
What I'm doing is I'm affirming your perceptions. I don't know what's going on. Therefore, I feel confused. And immediately that restores a sense of safety because it makes sense to the conscious mind of the client.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then I would guide the client through the tapping. But there are situations where I would do the tapping on the client. And I would first I would ask, is it all right if I touch you? And then I'm saying, okay, I'm just going to tap. And then I'll tell them, okay, inside the eyebrow. And then I will give them, but I want the client to say the suggestion as I tap. Now, the reason I would tap on a client is twofold. One, if they're into a really big emotional energy and they simply cannot, then I will tap for them because it's going to help to calm the nervous system of the body. Another reason I would do that is that they're into a really tender feeling. I want them to just be in that feeling, and I don't want to interfere or disrupt it in any way by giving them something to do. So I'll just say, oh, just be with that feeling. So they might be in a feeling like, oh, mommy loves me. And you go, oh, isn't that nice? Just let yourself feel that love coming from mom now. I'm going to tap on you. Is that okay? You go, okay, oh, just it feels so good to be loved by mom. And you notice you change your vocal tone to, you know, kind of match the feeling that client is experiencing, and also the age of the child. So that would be another situation. Or I might just tap because they're very young, and maybe having, you know, really young children don't always have the ability to communicate very well. And so, because they're pre-verbal, sometimes it can because the adult consciousness steps in and kind of helps with that. But if they can't, then, you know, you can do something as simple as just, oh, this feeling in my body, you know, and that can help to kind of loosen things up. And calming the energy system with the tapping will allow more clarity to come to mind so that the client can better report what's going on.
Yeah, which is amazing. And then you were able to describe how it works with the amygdala, and you could tell me all of like sort of like the scientific, the left brain stuff behind it, which was comforting to me as well, because I was like, I'm a little bit more woo-woo now than I was back then. Back then, I kind of was more evidence-based.
You have to know that tapping has been proven to calm the nervous system of the body. It has a calming effect. So if someone is in an uncomfortable feeling, if you want to release that feeling, tapping is going to help to release it much quicker. So it's a good tool to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I still, you know, use it, and it's a part of my toolbox, and it's fantastic. Now, I want to change gears just a little bit here, and I want to let the audience in on a secret in my group. So a few weeks ago, I asked you, who would you prefer for me to interview? The leading expert in regression hypnosis or the leading expert in dream analysis? Well, that happens to be the same person, you guys. It's Wendie Webber. So, and dream analysis is very important to you, and I'd like for you to just, you know, talk a little bit about dream analysis and what it means to you.
Well, I have been a dream worker for much longer than I've been a hypnotherapist. I've been working almost daily with my dreams for over 30 years. And it's just, I just got hooked back in the 80s with what's going on in my dream time. And so over the years, I've learned different techniques. I've gleaned methods that I use for myself. And so I'll tell you a little story. I went to a regression hypnotherapy boot camp, and so, you know, and it was very interactive. I mean, what they would be doing demonstrations, and then people would be asking questions, and you know, and so I was really active in this because this was like, this is cooler than sliced bread. And so during the break, a bunch of us were just kind of standing around drinking our coffees and chatting about what we had, you know, just been experiencing in the class. And somebody says to me, Wendie, how come you get all this stuff? And I kind of looked at them like, huh, what? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I just thought everybody got it, right? And
Right.
I'll have to think about that. Let me get back to you. So I did. And what came to me was dreams. I've been working with my dreams for so much longer than doing hypnosis. And what it did was that I've been working in the subconscious mind. I step into it. I work with those parts of ourselves that show up when we're doing regression work. You know, the inner child is a part. The person, the abuser or the offender or whatever is a part of the client. They're internalized as you know, they're representations that are carried inside the individual. So these are all the stuff that I'm working with when I'm doing dream working. And so I was already familiar with the territory. And so when I'm observing, you know, the stuff that they were doing, I was just looking at it through a different lens, and it gave me kind of a different take on what's happening when we're doing, you know, the regression work specifically.
Yeah, and sorry, what was the last thing you said?
Did I answer your question?
You did answer my question. You always answer my questions very thoroughly, actually, which I appreciate. And that's how I know that you really know your stuff. You really know what you're talking about because you give the most detailed answers. And I could tell that you just have so much passion for what you do, and you love your work. And you did like a dream analysis on me the other day, which I just found so profound and so fascinating, and now it makes me excited to learn about it and get into this. But you're developing some stuff around the dream work, and you already have some stuff developed for regression hypnotherapy.
Well, it's kind of my next project. It's sitting behind me here in a basket here, and it's, you know, a little bit daunting right now. But yeah, this is what I've always wanted to do. I used to own a metaphysical bookstore, and I sold it in 1996. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to go into dream work, and specifically doing dream coaching and teaching dream work. Yeah. And so I got me up to the local university, and I said, okay, what do I need to do? And a friend of mine is a professor at the college, and he said, listen, I'll set you up to have lunch with the head of the psych department. And so I went and had lunch with him, and he said, so what is it that you want to do? And I said, well, I'm really into dreams. I want to do dream work. And he went, oh, young man, we don't do that here. And it was like, well, where do I need to go if that's what I want to do? And he said, well, you'd have to go to Toronto, and I'm on the west coast of Canada. And at that time, that just wasn't doable for me. I had, you know, a young child, and it was not happening. So I kind of gave up on that. And I guess I kind of stumbled into or fell into hypnosis instead, and eventually this gift of a question brought me full circle. And so I had been teaching a little dream working course to you know, it was just kind of part of my practice because it was something I loved to do. And so I would do these little groups, and I teach people how to work with their dreams, and we'd all have fun. And I, you know, I love doing this. So so it got me thinking. I was thinking, well, if this helped me so much with the therapeutic work, then I wonder if it might be useful for other hypnotherapists. And so
Yeah.
a friend of mine down in Massachusetts said, well, come on down and I'll get a bunch of people together and you can teach us this stuff. And I said, cool, okay, I'll do that. And so I went down, and we had people from all over. We had people from France and from England and from the United States and from Australia. The fellow from Australia, you probably saw his comment that
Oh,
I had
yes.
get over a block that transformed his career. What he didn't tell you was that it wasn't a hypnosis session, it was a dream working session.
Oh, amazing.
Like a Skype thing. He's in Australia, but he had been in that class. And so after the class, he called me up and said, can you help me with a dream? So that's what we did. But during the class, everybody said, wow, this is so cool. Yeah, we'd be interested. And so I thought, finally, I can do what I'm here to do, right? This is my calling.
Yay, we're so glad.
Yeah, man plans, God laughs. So it worked out that way, but I'm finally kind of getting back to it. And that's what I'd like to do. I'd like to build a program that has more to do with working with your dreams, understanding dreams, and coaching your clients working with dreams as well.
I would love to learn how to do that. I would love to be a dream coach. So when that becomes available, that product, let me know. That class or whatever it is that you decide to do, the book, the class, all of it, let me know. And now there are some people watching who are just now getting into wanting to know more about regression hypnotherapy. Maybe they've dabbled in it, but they really need more knowledge, more experience. Can you tell them how to find that information?
Sure. I've got 10 courses. They're little mini courses. You can find them at my website. Just go to www.tribeofhealers.com and you'll find, there's a free course there on how to find the ISE. As I say, and I've got a free course there on how to kind of structure your practice to grow your business, to grow your healing business. And then there's a complete system based over the rest of the courses, which are really aligned with the idea of incrementally preparing the client to be successful working with you. And so I break it down into small courses. For example, the intake process for regression hypnosis is different than if you're just doing a direct suggestion.
Hugely important.
Your pre-talk needs to be much more comprehensive. You're not just educating them about the hypnosis. You need to educate them about the therapeutic process, because regression hypnosis is an interactive process that requires the client's cooperation. You need to create a partnership so that the client works with you. You can't do it for them.
Right.
So the pre-talk is all about educating the client and getting a contract. The contract says we go where we need to go and we do what we need to do to get the healing. So that's another one. I got another program called the Potty Break Protocol, and that's how to...
What did you say, the potty break?
Potty Break Protocol.
Okay. Tell us about that one.
Well, it's a lot more than that, but the main structure of it is how you can use a strategically placed potty break in the first session to set yourself up to be successful working with a client. And it's a way for you to give yourself a script that comes from the client. So you never need a script. It's just basically you create a session worksheet with all the information you need to guide the process confidently. So it's another strategy I came up with, but there's a lot more to that. There's like how to set up in the next section.
Hold on, let me cut you off for a second. I do a kind of a potty break thing myself. And so After the pre-talk, my sessions are 2 hours because the first hour I give a very thorough pre-talk. I take all their background information. I, dispel all the myths of hypnosis, all that kind of stuff. In the second hour, I bring them into hypnosis, but in between that, we have a potty break. And
exactly.
I have them use the bathroom first, and then when they come back, I use whether I have to use the bathroom or not, that's irrelevant. I leave the room. And I walk down the hall. And while I'm gone, that gives the client time to really settle in. If they have to pick their underwear or something, that's fine. Nobody's there watching them, right? And they can really get relaxed and really comfortable in the environment without me like hovering over them, so they can like really relax. And while they're doing that, okay, and I have the music going for them, and is nice. Then I go to the bathroom. And when I go to the bathroom, now I'm sort of assembling what needs to happen in my mind. And I'm doing that sort of in the bathroom. And then on my way back from the bathroom, I get into state and I put on my hypnotherapist hat. And by the time when I touch the handle of my door, I have this sort of preconditioned. I say, I am the hypnotist. And I turn that knob, and then I walk back into the room ready to go. Completely ready to go.
So that I do the same thing. It's in the first session. I only ever do this in the first session, but it's
just the first session.
That first session. So we do the intake, we do the educational pre-talk, then we take a potty break. And then when the client comes back in, it's as if you're starting a new session.
Yes.
And when they come back in, I say to them, okay, we're done talking.
Yeah.
We're from now on, we're just doing the hypnosis. And now they know what to expect the next time they come in. So they're not going to come in and expect you to spend an hour chatting with them and having them tell you their whole life story.
Right. So we've already done that.
You want to set up realistic expectations. So it's a really great strategy.
Yeah, it helps change state. It's wonderful. Like I said, sometimes I don't even have to use the bathroom myself, but I'm going to take it because this is me getting into state as well, because we're shifting states here. So
exactly.
Go into trance first, and then it's easier to bring your clients there.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to scroll down and read some of the comments and see if I can find. Oh, in your classes are really like digestible. They're in bite-sized chunks, and they're really affordable. Are they on Udemy or on your website?
On my website, you can get a link and you get a discounted price. So the courses go anywhere from $10 to $50. Like the I think $49 are for the two big courses. Like one of them is I think 5 hours or something like that.
Wow, 5 hours.
Your ideal client session course, which actually works back to back with the second course, which is the Ready for Regression session. And these are ways of the Create Your Ideal Client session is about training your client to go into hypnosis rapidly. Because when you're doing regression, you don't want to waste a bunch of time on the induction.
Right.
The client is not paying you for hypnosis. They're paying you for a result. So you don't want to waste a bunch of time on the hypnosis. You just want to get them in hypnosis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Work. So that first session, if you take the time to create your ideal client for the hypnosis, then you're going to save that time in subsequent sessions. And then the Ready for Regression session is something that I worked out because I'm lazy. And I don't want to work really hard on my sessions. And 90% of what we have to deal with in a regression session is resistance. Now, resistance is the problem. Resistance is an avoidance strategy. Whatever it is that's causing the problem, the client doesn't want to face it. They don't want to look at it. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. scary, So, I developed this Ready for Regression session, which basically is a way to first assess where your client is at, because you need to know, is this person ready for regression? If they're not, you need to prepare them for that. Some clients are going to need, some ego strengthening, for example. Some people are going to need more time to be, just for the rapport. If they've got a long history of abuse, they may need a slower process.
Right.
And the other thing is then to train them how to work with you in a regression, because if you teach them how to associate into an event from the past, if you teach them how to respond in an event from the past, how to do the uncovering work, it's going to make your job easier. And I'm all about making things easier.
Oh, me too, girl. Me too. That's awesome.
So we can just pal up and start the lazy hypnotherapist program.
I love that. Yes, that's so funny. We are so in tune, Wendie, you and I. I call myself the lazy hypnotist. That's so funny. And let's see. Let me show a comment from one of the viewers. Thank you, all you guys, for commenting. And I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to get to all of the comments, but I will go back and read these. We have a comment from someone who says it would be interesting to add another Udemy course about the integration of EFT and regression hypnotherapy. What do you think about that?
It's already there. It's in my Create Your Ideal
It's already there. So that person was just picking up on that vibe.
Everything I do in sessions is in those courses, and it's all about setup. If you really pay attention in those courses, you'll have everything you need. The rest of it is just basically comes from experience. Like, what do you do if somebody gets, is in an incubator? That comes from experience. What do you do if somebody's got, 97 episodes of sexual abuse in childhood? That comes from experience, and that the place to address the specifics of a client issue is on the forums. But you need to have a solid foundation for doing the work, and that's what I wanted to create. And I wanted to make it available, make it affordable, because when you're just starting out, you need a leg up, you need some support, and there's this big gap that happens following graduation, where it's like a no man's land. So I wanted to kind of fill that gap.
And you have a support forum for your students, and you have a forum on Facebook.
Right. So it's the Regression Hypnotherapy group. If you're already trained in regression hypnotherapy, then that group is for you. It's not for individuals who do not have training, who want to learn how to do regression, because you'll be overwhelmed. Yeah. The level of the discussions are pretty, the pros are in there, and they're talking about some pretty deep stuff, and you need to know the lingo. We're talking about ISEs and SSEs and SPEs, and you need to know what this stuff is, which, by the way, you can learn what those things are if you just sign up for my free root cause remedy course. That you'll just learn tons in that alone.
Oh, I love that. And that's the free course, the root cause remedy.
Tribe of Healers.
The Tribe of Healers. Okay, awesome. Well, fantastic. So now I'm going to ask if any of the viewers who are watching live now have any questions for us, or for me, for Wendie, or for both of us while you have us live. This is your time to ask us any questions. And I'm reading these comments from earlier, and I want to thank you for all the kind words that I see that you guys are saying. But if you have any questions,
I have a question for folks.
Oh,
so many hypnosis practitioners are intimidated by the regression work. They don't want to go there. People have fears and apprehensions about hypnosis, and hypnosis practitioners have fears and apprehensions about regression. And I'd like to know, what is it about regression to cause that really kind of makes you nervous or freaks you out or scares the bejesus out of you?
That's a great question. Yeah. What's scary? What's scary about it to you guys? All right. Let's see. Looks like we're getting a question from Kevin Cottrell. Hello, Wendie Webber. Do you do any SC work speaking to higher self as well? So do you do any work where you talk to the higher self?
Yeah. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for your question. That's great. I did Jerry Kind's training in Ultra Height. And yes, however, I will qualify that by saying I do not do the higher self work until I have done the lower self work. Because when you start working with those more transformative, higher levels of consciousness, the client needs to have a really good clean plate for doing that. You need a strong ego, and you don't want to be taking any of that lower self-contamination into the higher state work. So that's my approach. Now, if you're trained in the Simpson protocol, then that is a different approach to working with higher states. That incorporate some of the cleaning out work. That's not my approach. My approach is like I'm a meat and potatoes regression to cause therapeutic hypnosis. I'm very systematic in the approach. I want to do the groundwork with a client in the regression, and then if they've got a spiritual state of mind that they want to access, you betcha. Oh, okay. I will also say that sometimes a client will go to a past life, in which case you're automatically going to be doing some of that higher self work as well.
Sometimes that will spontaneously happen. Yeah. And we have somebody asked the question, what if there isn't a cause? But I'm not really sure how you're framing that. What if there isn't a cause? Like
problem a client comes to you with is the result of a life experience. So you need to find out what that life experience is. Now, the cause is not what happened. The cause is not the emotional state. The emotional state is simply what holds that memory in place. And as far as the subconscious mind is concerned, that's a current event, because it hasn't been resolved. So this is why people keep getting triggered. It's every time they run into a situation that acts as a reminder of that unresolved event, it brings it back up on the table to be worked with. And this is the stuff that shows up in your dreams. Something happens in your daily life and it triggers you to have a dream, and that dream is coming out of a memory. So it's all connected to, because it's all one mind, right? So the cause is going to be in a life event, but the cause has to do with a thought. It's the underlying thought. Like we're all trained that the belief is the problem. Well, a belief is a thought that you think over and over and over. It's a well-practiced thought, right? So this is what Stephen Parkhill called thought-cause alignment. The cause is the thought.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And now we have a comment for someone who is answering your question. And they are saying, seems that some might be scared to solve the problem too fast, that they would reduce the number of sessions. So maybe that's why they wouldn't want to do regression to cause, because maybe it's not good for their business model.
Great question. I find it's the other way around. There's so much pressure put on hypnosis practitioners to get her done in one session, and that's just not reasonable. Now, if you're lucky, you'll get that one session miracle. I've had them, but they really are miracles. And when that happens, it's because the client is ready, they're fearless, they trust you completely, they are really motivated to get this problem dealt with, and bang, you get her done in one session. And when that happens, do a Snoopy Dog dance, because because that is just like the coolest thing you'll ever experience. But the truth of the matter is, most people are going to need a process. And so when I do the initial qualifying, that's another course I have. The preliminary assessment program is about qualifying your clients before you even accept them as clients. And one of the things that I educate them about during that initial call is healing is a process. It's a journey. It's not a destination. And
Yeah.
the more fear and more anxiety and apprehension a person has, the longer it's going to take, because that's resistance.
Yeah, and it could take a matter of multiple sessions to clear that out, not just, one and done. So, and we're always happy when we get those one and done sessions, but we need to set expectations that hypnosis is a process.
Right.
That, yes, sure.
And
Absolutely.
you're going to, I see the next question, and that actually ties into what we're talking about. He says, it doesn't make me nervous, but sometimes have difficulty finding a single root cause when there have been multiple stressors. And this is why healing takes time. Because first of all, the hypnotist is seldom the first place that people turn to for help. They go to their doctor, they go to their psychologist, they go to their psychiatrist. They, they take pills, and they do the surgery, and they do the medication and so on.
Hi, Dad.
Hello. And so, we're seldom the first place that people turn to. And by the time they end up on your doorstep, that problem has been around for a while. Okay, so you had time to build up steam, and there's a lot of internal pressure. And when you've got a lot of internal pressure, there can be multiple symptoms. So if you think about the dandelion root, and you know how the roots come up and eventually they pop up through the surface of the ground, and you get one dandelion, right? Well, what happens is you can have one root and you can have all kinds of dandelions popping their heads up. And those are different symptoms. So you can have somebody who's coming to you, they got fibromyalgia, which, by the way, is not one thing. Fibromyalgia is a cluster of symptoms all working together.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not looking for one cause. So the key to getting a lasting result is to work on one symptom at a time. Mm-hmm. So, and the way to choose the symptom is usually say, well, what's the first one that came on? So they say, well, I started getting this pain in my neck. Great, let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Now, what will happen is if you can get the first symptom and resolve that, the other ones will fall down because they're all connected.
Right. If they're connected, they will collapse.
But not always. So,
but they're not always connected. So that could be that.
But I get why you're nervous, because I ran into this too. Like, it really can create a lot of anxiety when a client comes to you and they've got like this laundry list that they bring to you. So you really need to identify what's that one thing that's really calling for resolution. So either you want to get the first symptom that came on. For example, if you're working with a phobia, they know when they had that first panic attack. So that's where you want to start the work. You want to go to that first time that they consciously remember, because everything that happened before that is underground. And it's the same thing with physical symptoms. If they got 97 different symptoms, what's the first one that came on? Because it's very likely that you can resolve the whole pattern with that. Or, the older a person is, the more stuff they've got happening in their life.
Right.
They can have a whole collection of issues. Well, I don't get along with my husband, and I've got, the arthritis, and they can give you a
whole laundry list. The older they are.
A client came to me whose son was a doctor. She was on like 15 different medications and had a weight problem.
Oh, man.
You think the meds might be contributing to the weight problem?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And Kevin is saying, my hangups are, to answer your question, is a client regressing to a situation that is so fearful to them that they jolt out before you can have a chance to dissociate them from being inside it?
I never dissociate a client from being in a regression. It takes consciousness to heal consciousness. You cannot heal a problem of mind by avoiding it. So what I want to do is work with that subconscious prime directive and make it safe for the client to face what's there. If it's really a horrendous traumatic event, there's a very good chance that it is not the ISE. But the fact that the subconscious mind brought you to this event is good news, because it tells you there is a lot of pain and pressure in this event, and the subconscious mind wants relief.
Once it released.
So what I want to do is I want to very quickly get a clue for myself what's going on in that event, and then I get them out. So what I will do is I'll do just a really preliminary uncovering work, and then I will say to their subconscious mind, I'm going to take care of that. But before we do, and then I want to do a test for the ISE and go back to an earlier event, because the ISE 99.99% of the time has very little of an energetic charge around it. It's not a big deal. And if you can release the pressure in the ISE, it's going to ripple all the way up into that big traumatic event, bring down the pressure so that you can come back to it, and then you can resolve what's left. And it's not a problem for the client to deal with at that point, because you've got some understanding from resolving the ISE, plus you've brought down the emotional pressure, so you prepared them to deal with that event.
And it's kind of like that house of cards. If you pull that initial card out from under the initial sensitizing event, right, then the whole house will collapse, right? It'll have that domino effect. Exactly. And that's why looking for and finding that ISE is so important. This is the last comment that I'm going to take, and then we'll start wrapping up. So one of the viewers says, fearful of regression for me is deciding the steps, the rewind technique versus regression to cause.
Okay, you'll have to explain to me what the rewind technique is.
Okay, so I guess what they're meaning, I'm wondering if they mean like the phasphobia cure. Well, whoever's commenting, go ahead and.
But I don't know what it is, because I don't do NLP. But regression to cause is very simply, the concept is that there is a feeling that is trapped in in an event, and the first time they ever felt that feeling is the causal event. So that's the goal, is to get there. Now, I'm not going to confuse things by giving you except. But essentially, that's what we want to do. We want to find that causal event. Now, I use a rewind technique within the context of an event, because I want to get a thorough cleansing of an event. So once I've done the uncovering process, and I have 6 essential questions that we use for the uncovering process, and I break those down in the, I'm not sure which course it's in now. It might be in the Ready for Regression. It's in the Ready for Regression session. So the 6 basic uncovering questions are basically going to give you the information you need to know why that event was a problem, so that you can resolve the underlying cause. Once I have that information, I want to rewind to the beginning of the event. I want to rewind back to before anything bad happens, because in the ISE, the child's feeling fine, the child's feeling happy, they're feeling good, they're feeling safe and secure, and then bang, something happens. It happens suddenly, it's unexpected, it's got this emotional charge that goes through the nervous system of the body, that's what locks it in. The child doesn't have anybody there to support them, so they got to figure it out for themselves, and they don't have what's needed to get through feeling safe and secure. So I want to go back to where they're still feeling safe and secure, and this is where we do the inner child work. This is where we prepare the child. Now, the inner child work is exactly that. It's preparing the child to face that event without having to get to have that emotional charge triggered. And so what we're going to do is we're going to rewind back to before the event. We're going to let the event play out. As soon as they bump into something, we're going to resolve that. Then we're going to rewind and we're going to play it again.
Are you doing the informed child before you do?
Before, that's the setup.
Right.
They do the uncovering, then go back before anything bad happens.
Yeah.
So you've got it, because the child is receptive to suggestions. If you try to give instructions to a freaked out kid or a freaked out client, they can't accept those suggestions because they're too agitated. So take them back to where they're all peaceful and happy. And then you can do the inner child work. You can bring in the adult to do the reparenting process. And then the parent goes with them. So now the client is reparenting themselves, but they go with them through the event. And only go as far as they get triggered. So the first part might not be a big deal anymore, but now they bump into something else. That's another aspect. So what we do is resolve that, then we rewind again and let it play forward again. And in this way, you can get a very thorough cleansing of that event right to the end.
Yeah, I do something very similar. Do you have time for one more comment? I said we weren't going to take any more comments, but somebody just kind of slipped in under the radar there. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'll stay on after the call. If people want to post questions, I'll answer them.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. So let me hide that and put up this question. And somebody wants you to tell us more about nothing is something during the regression.
That's a brilliant quote. Sometimes the client, you say, ask the client, you know, what do you notice? For is very often something.
Very something.
Right.
And so how can you dig down and, or, you know, get to that?
It's really going to depend on that situation. You know, sorry, I can't give you a magic bullet for this. What you need to, but it is a quote that you can, it's a suggestion you can give to the client. If they say nothing, you can say sometimes nothing is something, you know, so focus on that nothing. So if they say, you know, there's nothing happening, have them focus on the nothing. What do you notice about that nothing? I'll give you an example from my own experience. When I was first learning, this is really early on. I was doing alchemical hypnotherapy, which is, we do regression in that, but it's a different approach. And so the person that was guiding me through this regression was not exactly highly skilled. We were just students. So she regressed me, and all I got was black. And she says,
yeah,
to me, you know, what do you notice? And I said, nothing, because it was just black. And she went, oh, I don't know, you know, I don't know what to do about this. And so one of the facilitators stepped in and just kind of said, okay, so let's just go a little bit, you know, focus on that blackness. What do you notice about that blackness? And I went, oh, there's kind of a ripple to it. There's like this movement in it. See, I didn't notice it the first time. All I got was black. And I thought, well, I don't know. See, I was giving myself a suggestion in that session. I
love that.
Right? So
yeah.
I don't know. Right? So, but the black
that.
started to look like a ripple. And so I said, oh, there's a ripple. And what do you notice about the ripple? Well, I don't know. There's like this kind of flickering light on the ripple. And as you notice that flickering light on the ripple, what else do you begin to notice? And within just a few moments, I realized I was looking at water at night, and it was light being reflected on the water.
Oh, so cool.
So you just need to be patient, especially when you're first stepping into an event, because the client needs time to associate into the event. That's what those first 3 uncovering questions are about. You know, is it daytime or nighttime? That's the broadest view of what's happening. So they say, you know, and if they say, I don't know, then, you know, there's a little bit of resistance there. That's fine. Just say pick one. Does it feel like it's daytime or nighttime? What's your first sense?
What do you perceive? How do you sense it?
Yeah, just go with your first sense. What does it feel like? Does it feel like it's daytime or nighttime? Daytime. Good job.
Yeah. Okay. First impression. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're inside or outside? Well, I don't know. Okay, this is very common. I don't know.
Yeah.
And don't say that dumb response. Well, if you did know, what would just say, yeah, does it feel like you're inside or outside? I don't know. What's your first sense? Just give me your first sense.
Yeah.
Inside or outside? Pick one. Inside. Good job.
I like that. Pick one. First impression. Like,
right? And then you say,
don't give them time to think about it, right?
Go with your first sense. Your first sense is going to tell you. You know, and you can say to them, there's no wrong answers here. Just go with your first sense, right?
Yeah.
Are you alone or with something? First sense. Go with your first sense. Those 3 questions help the client to step into the event. You're associating them into the event. You're building the gestalt of the event. And you want to spend time on allowing them to allow the impressions to come to them, because when you're first getting started with the regression, the client doubts their impressions. You know, their conscious mind is going, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, I don't know. Well, how could I possibly know? Well, this is dumb. And they get this chatter going on in the background. And so you can just override that by saying, that's okay. Just go with your first sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Wendie, for showing up, for being my guest. What a wonderful discussion. I love talking shop with you. I love everything about you. And I really appreciate you showing up and sharing all this wonderful information with us. You're so talented. You're so intelligent. And, you know, the hypnosis community is lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you, my darling. And just thank you to everybody who took the time to show up and hang out with us today. And if you want to hang out with me and learn more, you know, from me and from others who are, you know, practicing regression hypnotherapy, come and join us in the regression hypnotherapy group, and friend me, you know, because I'm always posting videos and stuff on Facebook. So, you know, you can get access to all kinds of stuff that I'm sharing.
Awesome. All right. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. And Wendie did say she would stay around for a little while longer to follow up with comments if you want to keep asking questions. And there will be people who will be watching this on the replay. And feel free to leave your questions and your comments too, even if you're watching on the replay. And Wendie and myself will come back periodically and check those questions or comments, and we'll follow up with you. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Stay warm and be safe, and we'll see you around. Yes, drive carefully. Okay, namaste.